Good day, one and all. My name is Donato, and welcome to today's video where I'll be talking with an amazing athlete. In fact, you could say he's got a lot of talent. That's right, folks. This man, he is so fast. He runs quicker than me. He's like the original Flash. He's none other than Namir Batavia. Welcome to the show, Namir.
Donato, hey, thanks for having me on. How are you?
I'm very good indeed. Obviously, the first question I'm sure a lot of people will be thinking is, that seat you're sitting in, are you a gamer?
And believe it or not,
an online gamer?
Believe it or not, I actually got this chair yesterday. And the first thing I said was, everyone's going to think I'm a gamer. But no, I'm just a usual guy working from home. So sorry to spoil the limelight there.
Because I did see that. I'd love one. I mean, I've got myself... top tip is I've got myself a standing table now. So I'm here standing, working from home. And obviously you do a lot of working from home as well. But obviously you've got that lovely hot seat. But I couldn't help but notice it. As I say, I've got a few nephews who do a lot of online gaming. And it does look like one of those, I mean, you feel like you need an Xbox or something. But you say working from home. Give us a bit of background about yourself, Namir. What do you do? Where you're from? We've got you as Team Godiva because you are part of the Godiva Harriers in Coventry. So tell us a bit about yourself, background, what you do, how you got into running, all that type of stuff.
So two ways of looking at it. The first one, without boring too many people, in terms of my day job, I work in intellectual property law. So looking at the negotiations of intellectual property agreements keeps me busy. Tend to work from home, which works in my favor, especially when it comes to do with my running. I joined Godiva Harriers now, I think it was at the back end of 2011. And right. Before that, I was your fun runner, really just trying to learn the tricks of the trade, looking online, working off a normal stopwatch. So I think the big change in my running career really came, I would say, within the first year of joining Godiva. So between 2011 to 2000 and probably start of 2013.
Yeah.
To see a lot of results, a lot of quick results.
When you say quick results, I mean, I was looking through the times that you currently have, and to say they're quick, you're very modest there, Namir. We've got here a 5K time of 15 minutes and 50 seconds, a 5-mile time of 27 minutes, 11 seconds, 10K, 33 minutes, 50 seconds, and a half marathon, 74:54. Which those were the official times. We'll go on to the lockdown stuff because obviously we'll talk a bit more about the lockdown. But those times are incredibly fast to me. What do you put that down to? I mean, I do know that you used to be, and for those who want to find you on social media, it's at Namir number 7. And I did say number 7 for me jumps out. David Beckham. You used to be a footballer, is that right, Namir? Or you still play football?
Well, I don't play football anymore. Definitely not. There's no way I can juggle the two. Yeah, just like any young superstar wannabe, you know, David Beckham was the real role model in life, and that's who we aspired to. And as a kid, we played a lot of football up until the age of, I would say, 20. I was playing football, keeping fit, and enjoyment. It was a great team sport. And then that's the change, really, just after university, or no, should I say my first year of university, where I started to see a bit of a difference in terms of what I was capable of doing just purely by running.
Yeah. So did you find that what you'd done in football when you transitioned, because I have interviewed people from all different types of sports, did you find it was a easy transition, a good transition? Because obviously you're on your feet. I mean, I've spoken with people who are basketball players, tennis players, and as soon as they take up running, they're incredibly quick to start with, shall we say. Is it because you have a certain level of fitness there?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think you'll find if you're naturally accustomed to running, when you play football or basketball, you tend to find you can just enjoy yourself better over the 90 minutes or whatever it might be. And that was always apparent. You know, I didn't really ever get tired very quickly. And you tend to find other people within the team would get tired a lot more quicker. So running gave you that nice base endurance throughout.
Yeah.
Any sport, really.
Yeah, but you mentioned about the running before you joined Godiva, and maybe even now you do a lot of this, is the T word, which some people begin with a D. They call it the treadmill, but you had a bit of love of the treadmill. Tell us a bit about this treadmill love affair that you had and how it used to work.
It's just a strange one, and more love at first sight, really. I started going to the gym with my dad. I think it was when I was about 14, maybe 15, just before my GCSEs. And I had no real aspiration to lift weights, to get big as such. And I started going on the cardio machines, and then started just finding myself on the running machine, just enjoying myself purely because you could almost measure how fast you were going, and you do it again and again, daily. And it became a bit of an obsession. But what I found was, like some people are accustomed to lift weights and naturally find that useful, the treadmill was really useful for me because I was getting fit. I wasn't really getting tired, and I was finding myself getting faster and running for a longer time each session.
Yeah.
And I did no running outside whatsoever. All I did was just treadmill. And I think that's what got me into the initial running bug as such. From there, that was it really. I just used the treadmill to keep fit. I would join the gym. I would do bits and bobs at the gym, but my core within the gym was to warm up to run, and then to warm down. So next day I can do my run again. I would tend to find I run probably for about 20 minutes, maybe 25 on the treadmill. Anyone watching knows anything more than 15 minutes on a treadmill is very, very daunting. It can get very boring.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people during the lockdown who've bought bits of indoor equipment, I think treadmill might be one of them. I mean, for myself personally, I bought an indoor bike, a turbo, which I attached my bike to. But the thing with being indoors, and you probably find this as well, Namir, you mentioned 15 minutes. For me, it's like 5 minutes. I'd add enough. Is the heat, and because we're not outside in the fresh air, and there's no breeze or anything, and although in terms of what you've done without you probably realizing that a lot of elite athletes use the treadmill to fine tune certain types of training. So do you have any tips for people who, if for whatever reason, some might be forced into using a treadmill because of weather conditions, or others who want to use it as part of their training? Have you got any tips for the treadmill people and how they can learn to love being on a treadmill rather than calling it a dreadmill?
Yeah. It's an interesting question, really. My take on that would be anybody that started to use a treadmill would know if their body likes a treadmill within a session, 2 sessions, because you tend to find if your body doesn't like it, you're going to get shin splints, you're going to get some severe pains coming off it. First tip there is probably avoid the treadmill because it's very unnatural in terms of its movement and it's not suiting your body versus somebody else's. The second thing is, if naturally you enjoy running on the treadmill, somebody like myself as a starter, instead of just running maybe for 20 minutes straight, maybe split it up and do 5 minutes at a certain pace, and then drop the speed down for a minute, increase the intensity, so it turns into a bit of a high intensity hit rate type session. And before you realize it, the 20 minutes is broken into 5 minutes, into another 5 minutes, and into a 5-minute warm down. And the 20 minutes will go quicker. It will go quicker.
It's amazing you say that, Namir, because that's how I used to do it. I broke it down into bite sizes, and in fact, I think I'd ended up doing a few long runs because of heavy snow. This is going back a couple of years now, and it was a case of walking through the snow to get to the gym, and getting to the gym, and there'd be nobody there because it's such deep snow, so nobody even bothered going to the gym. So I'd have the whole gym to myself, and I thought, hey, got to do my long run, 3 hours, let's go. So I'd break it down into, I think the treadmill I was using only allowed 30 minutes or 40 minutes at a time. So it forced me to restart it every 40 minutes. But what I do is do the split without me realizing, go for a drink, come back on, and then carry on again, which, as we all know, when you're doing a long run, you don't have to keep running for the whole 3 hours. Just be out there. But I do like that tip, Namir. It's absolutely brilliant. With what's been happening you know, over the past 12 months and lockdown. I know this is something that you wanted to specifically talk about, is that how lockdown, because a lot of people have, you know, right now in the UK, we're in a lockdown. I know that we're going to be coming out, and there's the roadmap. As I choke, I need a quick sip of my Smarty, people.
No problems.
Smart, as they say, guys, smarty people are happy people. Did you know that one, Namir? You might be a bit too young to remember that advert, but
kind, very kind.
Different generations, as they say. Yes, so Boris, as our premier prime minister, or whatever, has given out a roadmap, but there's a lot of people that have been struggling, myself included, of things that have been going on, and it's sort of like stop, start, stop, start. But for yourself, you've used lockdown in a to have a positive effect on you, because you were sharing with me some of the times that you've done, and in the lockdown training, you smashed those PBs I gave earlier, which were super fast. You've gone even faster again, despite there being no races, no nothing really going on. So what do you want to share with us, Namir, in terms of how lockdown has had a positive effect? And maybe people who are listening, watching this, may want to take some notes and tips.
Absolutely.
This,
and what I would say there is, a lot of the PBs that you mentioned were probably dating 4, 5, maybe even 6 years back. And the only fresh PB was the 5K, the 15-minute 5K, sorry, the 1550 for the 5K. And that was a lot of work done purely from the change of training that I really incorporated in lockdown, because it forced me to change. And as the old cliche goes, if you continue to do the same thing, it might work, but you'll eventually hit a ceiling, and you'll never push your body to the next limit. And as silly as it sounds, that's exactly where I was, and where I've sort of got to in terms of the next level now, because all my Strava PBs as such are all, 2, 3, 4 minutes quicker than what I was doing previously, purely from a change of training in lockdown. And to answer your question, the only difference I incorporated in lockdown was to increase the run mileage. So I was very good at running up to 10 miles previously and finishing there. Started incorporating more 15 milers. Majority of my runs now, if not all of them, are minimum 10 miles.
Right.
Me personally, as an endurance athlete, that's worked favors from anything from 5K all the way through to the half marathon. Yeah.
I mean, that's quite fascinating how you mentioned the quote. I think there's a similar one to that, is if you keep doing what you're doing, you'll get what you've already got.
Absolutely.
Was one of the quotes. And it is amazing how many, and we often get caught out, don't we, Namir, where we keep doing the same things, and sometimes we sometimes expect different results, but it doesn't really happen that way. So you say you've changed, and again, a lot of people may be watching, listening, you're already up at a certain level. So for those who are getting started, doing 10-mile runs is not really advisable, you need to build up to that. So once you're running like 75-minute half marathons, then you can start doing 10 miles of training runs. So was it really that simple? You just started doing longer, I presume these are slow runs. You're not doing any 10-mile tempos every day.
No.
You're mainly doing slow runs?
No, and anyone that's watching who's a new runner, my advice would be, believe it or not, you can run faster by running your runs slower.
Yes, that's one of my favorite quotes. It's
so true. When I joined Godiva, I couldn't believe the amount of runs that were done, that I thought were pointless, because, if you're not running and you're not running hard, then what's the point of running? But the Kenyans do the same thing. Majority of their runs are, running at everybody else's pace. It's only when they put everything together on that one run that they put their foot down, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've got this book which I keep throwing at people. 80-20. I appreciate it says triathlon, but it's the same with running. 80-20. And for some people I know, and I've had on the show, it's 95-5. So they really do focus on the ultra slow running. But yes, slow. What is slow for you, Namir?
The maths I would do is whatever your race pace is, your general running from there should be at least 2 minutes per mile slower. So for me, I would be running 10 miles in the region of around 7:40 pace. Now, everybody should be doing that, but that should be really where your threshold sits at. If you can run a 5:30 mile, 10 miles at 5:30, for instance. The body shouldn't be strained, or it shouldn't be pushing anything further than the 7:40 for what you would call your easy runs. They are crucial.
Yeah, I mean it's very much. I mean, a lot of people try and look at science or running on feel. I tend to go with as long as you can chat whilst you're running, and I can see there you're remaining hydrated, which is really good.
Yes.
As I keep hydrated with my cups of herbal tea, by the way, no caffeine.
Very good, very good.
But yeah, what would you say is your typical training? I mean, you say you've stepped up and you're now doing the 10 mile as your minimum type run, and it's predominantly easy runs. What would your typical week now is from what you've learnt in lockdown? Are you going to progress that when we come out of lockdown? You'll continue with that because it's obviously working for you.
Yeah, because there's not, like I said before, there isn't much of a change from what I was doing before, other than the duration of my runs have changed from 2 5 miles a day to 1 10 mile a day. So my endurance and capabilities are sitting at that 10 mile threshold, as opposed to 5 miles and then working for the next 5 miles.
Yeah.
But my old coach has always told me, and the logic is the same, you should structure your week or your training plan where you have a long run, which is once a week. You should have some type of repetition session, which is also during the course of the week, some type of progressive pickup, and if possible, some type of race tempo effort.
Right.
So try and incorporate, if you're training for a half marathon, doing something logically like a 10 mile tempo to see where you're at.
Yeah.
Once you've got your training in plan and you've got weeks in where you've got your mileage and your repetitions.
So that's as build up towards the race, getting yourself to race pace, so to speak.
Yeah, and if you haven't got a goal, like most people haven't at the moment because they don't know where they are in terms of uncertain times, then just fluctuate between the different races that you're doing. So if you're doing a half marathon through to a 5K, your tempo should range from, I would say, 10 miles down to 5K.
Right.
You can run a 5K thereabouts at your PB potential, knowing full well if you had to do a park run next Saturday, you can push yourself there, and the 5 mile or the 10K,
Yeah. I was going to say, how do you keep yourself, you touched on that, keeping motivated. How do you keep yourself motivated? Because you've got a very, in terms of when you're describing that job, as soon as you said legal and law, I'm thinking, whoa, that's obviously, quite a high pressured, stressful job. How do you keep yourself motivated with the running? Can you go out any time of day? Can you work it around your job easily, or is it early morning or late night? How do
I tend to work better in life in general in the morning. I'm a morning person. Anything after 8 o'clock in the evening and it's close to bedtime for me.
Yeah. I was going to say, are you in bed by 8? Because I am normally, but
I'd say 10. 10 is lights out for me for sure.
Okay.
But having a process in place, whatever works for you, and religiously sticking to that timetable. So saying to yourself, if you're going to run from 7, if you're going to keep 7 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock free for your runs, stick at it. Don't do something else. Keep that bit sectioned for your run versus your work. And just like anything in life, once you get into a routine, you get into that routine, and it's quite hard to get out of the routine. And a lot of the times, routine can be good.
Absolutely. And the habits, once you create that habit, it becomes a good habit, and you can create bad habits as well, but we prefer the good ones. Funny you mentioned first thing, because first thing this morning, I thought, as I knew I was going to be speaking with yourself during this lunchtime, is that I got my running early morning and a quick turbo, but I thought, let's see, I tend to try and spice it up a bit, and I thought I'd try a 1 mile TT because I'd entered this virtual thing.
Okay.
I had no breakfast, no real nothing, and it's on a roads and stuff. So there's cars and people going to work early morning. I wasn't up early enough to beat everyone, and I think I managed to squeeze in a sub 6 minutes mile through, up and down these hills around here, which was pretty tough. I did. The first one I did try one before, but I don't know whether I'll publish that one. And that was 6 minutes and 2 seconds. So when I knocked out the next one, went out a bit quicker, knew where the roadworks were and dodging a few cars. A few cars were very kindly, saw me coming at speed and let me cross in front of them. So I was very grateful for that. But as you know, Namir, when you're looking, you slow down, don't you? You can't go gung-ho like on a track. And I'd done a 5:58. So I took 4 seconds off in a matter of a cool down loop. But hey, do you spice it up a bit? Have you tried any different time trials during these lockdowns, different distances?
Yeah. I'm very lucky where I live. There's a mile loop on my estate.
Really? Right, I'm moving there.
Absolutely.
Is it flat?
If you look at my Strava, you'll see how flat it is. It's
flat as a pancake.
It is flat as a pancake. They should literally have races there.
It should be a race. Yeah.
And I'm quite structured, so all my tempo work is done on that loop.
Yeah.
And you split the loop into two circles. One is a mile, one is half a mile. So I've done 15 miles on there before. So wow. I can do all my time trials, anything from 5K through to the half marathon in terms of race efforts. Yeah. I actually did a race effort on Sunday, and I had a pacemaker on the bike. And I think people have got accustomed to me just literally running around.
Oh, it's Namir again. Look, he's at it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that weirdo. But I actually, again, ran a PB for the half. I think we did 72:36, which was really, really good considering I needed to do that on my own just with the bike there. So the loop is definitely a good measurement because it's very consistent.
Yeah. When you say bike, so you had someone with you on a pedal bike or a scooter or something?
No, just a normal bicycle, and he's a fountain of knowledge. He's been running for eternity, and he was just giving me his commentary while he was on the bike, and I was just a little bit behind him, just chasing him down.
I'll have to come down and do some filming, and because it sounds like a nice. Is it a public road?
It's a public road, yes. It's a public road, yeah.
Right, I'll have to. I'd say I don't personally. Sorry for those Strava people out there. I don't use Strava, but I might go and have a look because you sent me your Strava links. I'll check the location. But it sounds ideal because the loop where I ran today, as we slightly digress, is a 2.5K. It's a circular road, but it's an estate. So there's lots of roads all coming out of this loop. So it's 2.5K. And like yourself, Namir, I thought, having only recently moved here, I thought, wow, this would be perfect for racing because 2 loops and it's a 5K. Boom. And everyone's sort of done and dusted, like a park run. You'd be gone in an hour. So I'm sure the neighbours here wouldn't mind us closing the roads for an hour, but they probably would. But yeah, I did get a few looks, and there's a lot of people out on their daily constitution for a walk on a different way. And you sort of say hello to each other as you're passing. But it's great to have public, because sometimes it looks like you're very much a solution-orientated type of guy, Namir, because a lot of people think that they need a track to do sessions and they need, lots of uninterrupted roads or whatever to do the long runs. But you're clearly just using what you have around you to do the training.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And just one thing that you touched up on, another thing during lockdown, I started using Strava. Never used Strava before. I had an account, never ever really got into it. And I got a lot of my friends on it as well. And that's the motivational factor as well, because you're always thinking at the back of your head, great, I can submit this run on Strava, and I'm not affiliated to Strava at all. But it's a great network of runners that, that can give you kudos and, keep you going. So I would recommend people that are getting into running, if you haven't already, look up Strava, set up an account. It's free, and it will keep you motivated.
That's a very good point there, Namir, because obviously everyone uses things for different reasons, and there's different social platforms. I mean, do you have a favorite, because I regard Strava as a social media platform. Whilst it records your times and stuff, it's just a way of interacting with people. And obviously we've met through Instagram, and there's other social platforms. Do you have a particular favorite? You know, we've got Twitter, we've got Facebook. Have you started on Clubhouse yet? Do you know what Clubhouse?
I've not heard of Clubhouse.
Well, we'll leave that for a whole new seminar. But we can talk offline about that. But yeah, the others. Do you have any favourites that you find? I think, because you mentioned about the kudos when you're on Strava, and a lot of people have told me about this, and it helps keep them motivated, which is great. Do you have a favourites?
Yeah, as a runner, I would say Strava. The amount of data that you can get and the information you can generate from Strava is really good. And what it does do very well is it links and brings in a running community together. So even though we're in lockdown and we're not seeing people, we virtually, and some people think this is a bad thing, but we virtually know what other people are doing in terms of their running. So it helps. Yeah. From a race perspective, you know, people might look at it and say, well, there's Namir, he's not running well at the moment, I can beat him. But that's life, you know, everybody's competing with each other, whatever their goals are. But the overall benefit of Strava really is using that data and sharing it and comparing it with other users, which is, I think, is great. Yeah. I'd be lost without it now, I think.
Yes, whereas Instagram, maybe we wouldn't be so lost without that. But
I think that's completely, again, you know, Instagram it can be a very, very good time pass, and before you realize it, you've just got inundated with so many other things. But Instagram is very good for promoting merchandise. So, you know, the certain running trainers that are out there, etc. The first place you probably see them is on Instagram.
Yeah. I've come across all sorts of products and services via Instagram, some of which, you sort of think, really? But they know our demographics, don't it? Provided you answered your questions honestly in terms of where you're located and your age. Some of the adverts that appear there are very,
specific and, you know.
Absolutely, Namir. It's fascinating. But the times, I had to quote the times that you done during lockdown. So in lockdown, you ran a 5K in 26 minutes and 35 seconds.
5 miles. 5 miles.
Sorry, 5 miles. My glasses weren't working correctly there. 5 mile, 26:35. I was going to say if it was a 5K 26, you'd only lost 11 minutes. But anyway, 5 mile, 26:35. 10K, 32:42, which is over a minute PB on that. That's almost a minute 10 seconds. And then the half marathon, 72:52. That's over 2 minutes. Over 2 minutes. I mean, have you been taking some new kind of lockdown rocket fuel?
No. The rocket fuel purely is just a change of training, increasing the mileage on the runs. I'm no longer doing 2 runs a day. I used to think it's beneficial doing 2 recovery runs a day all the time. I switched it, started doing 10 miles as opposed to, say, 2 5s. Body got more entailed with the endurance. And I just noticed a significantly quick difference on my overall splits. Wow.
I mean, when you see that, how does it make you feel when you see that kind of improvement?
Honestly, I need to race. That's exactly what I said to myself. I'm at that stage where I'm literally peaked, and now not these races on the head, because otherwise there's nothing worse than peaking, dropping, and then when the races come, trying to build back up to it again. So, hopefully, fingers crossed, you know, with the pandemic, we'll be able to go out there and do what we love.
Absolutely. I think you should have a blast at the 1 mile TT. I think closing date is in a couple of days on the England Athletics 1 mile time trial, virtual 1 mile time trial. I've got no idea where I am with my sub 6 minute for my age group, which is the.
But it kept you going. It kept you going, and it's a motivation attribute that you can have. So absolutely, I should give it a go.
Have a go at that. But I slightly touched on rocket fuel, and before we spoke, this is totally out of the blue, Namir, so you can answer as detailed or as light as you want. But I mentioned rocket fuel. Is there any particular foods that you eat specially? Do you have a particular pattern in terms of what you eat? Are you a self-cook type person, or are you a bit like me where it's just pasta and pizza and hope for the best?
I'm quite a superstitious person, just like probably most athletes. So
Yeah.
for breakfast, it's always going to be porridge, 2 coffees, always, no matter what. That's all
2
I have.
coffees. Are the coffee sizes about this size, or is it bigger?
They're big. They're big.
Is it measured?
It's not measured. It's not measured, but it's as long as it's strong and it's got some good milk in there, I'm ready to go.
So coffee with milk, because I've heard if I had a coffee, and again everybody's different, it has something in it that how can I put this nicely?
Yes,
I might need to finish my run a lot sooner than I
can happen. But
you don't have that issue. You obviously don't have that issue.
It's about knowing your body and just knowing how to prepare for what works for you, how much time you have to leave before you start your run. You know, obvious stuff.
Right. So you don't sort of eat, drink, and then go.
So if I'm doing a run at 9:30 on a Sunday morning, I tend to find I would be probably up around 6 o'clock.
Sorry about that. I had to plug in before the power went off. Hey, joys of recording and unediting. Sorry, continue, Namir.
I was saying I tend to find if I'm doing a tempo on a Sunday morning at 9:30, which is the normal time, I would probably be up around about 6 o'clock. I'd have my breakfast at around 6:45, 7. That gives me ample amount of time to digest and absorb all the nutrients.
Wow. I was just going to touch on that because I mentioned that the mile TT I'd done this morning was pre-breakfast, pre-everything. So I was running on empty, which is sometimes some of the training that we do. But it's fascinating. You mentioned that's an absolutely brilliant tip that you've given there, Namir, is when you're doing speed sessions, tempo sessions, reps, all that type of stuff, anything apart from a long, slow run, you need the nutrients and energy in your body, don't you? Otherwise, you're just running on empty and you're just pushing against a brick wall, really.
It can be quite dangerous. You might not realize it straight away, but your body needs some sort of fuel. Because remember, as a runner, whether you're running X amount of speed or not, you're still covering the distance and you're putting your body under that enormous strain and pressure. So my take there would be make sure you have the right nutrients that work for you. That doesn't necessarily mean porridge. It could be bread. It could be anything, but whatever your fuel is.
Yeah, have a nice breakfast and get things going. A bit like preparing for a race, really. It should
be no difference. Yeah.
So if anything, preparing for a race, preparing for training, it's the same thing. It's all about being prepared, really.
Absolutely, that's the key.
So
preparation.
You mentioned about the training that should be included in terms of if people are going to do a training. What's your typical week? If we start on a Monday, take us through a Monday through to Sunday of a Namir training week.
I'll try and vary it as much as possible because I don't want my body to get used to the same thing week on week. But I'll tend to find Monday is normally a longish run, anything from 10 to 20 miles actually on a Monday morning.
Yeah.
Tuesday, if I've done 20, is normally a recovery run, anything from 8 to 10. Wednesday, I will try and incorporate some type of session, whether that's a few minutes on, a few minutes off, mile repetitions, a kilometer repetitions, anything just to work on the speed. That's where the speed really comes in. And then Thursday, I will incorporate within 10 miles, a 5-mile pickup. So I'll progressively try and get quicker. I'll look at my clock, start off at, say, 6:50 and finish off at, say, 6:10, for instance.
Okay.
My body not to get any faster than 10 seconds per mile. Now, you could do 20 seconds per mile, but it's teaching your body just to hold at a certain pace and then drop down rather than just go from, I feel great, and just drop straight down.
Yeah, and then go gung-ho, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's just teaching your body. And then Friday and Saturday are normally just easy miles. Again, I'll probably cover 20 miles over the 2 days. And then Sunday is tempo day. I use Sunday as my maximum effort day. That's the one. Fun day, Sunday.
Fun day, Sunday. So it's almost like getting your brain body into Sunday is race day.
Absolutely.
It's almost a cycle But in terms of the distances that you've done, I've noticed that, and we'll talk about, what your plans for the future, that there wasn't any mile times or any marathon or ultra marathons. Is that anything you're looking maybe to do, maybe short ones or some track, 1,500 meters, 3,000 meters, or would you be looking to go longer as you get older?
Longer as I get older, for sure. I think immediate goals on the track. Minimum distance, I think, would be road 5K. And the eventual goal for me now is to tick off the box and do the marathon. The marathon is key, I think. Yeah. I think I've still got unfinished business across every discipline, really, but anything from 5K through to half marathon, with the marathon as the ultimate king.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you rocked up to a marathon tomorrow, you'd probably run around a 2:30, 2:20, somewhere around there, with the right training. What do you think? With the right.
The amount of people that I've spoken to that have done marathons talk about the feeling at mile 20 to 26. So I'm yet to experience that yet. So I'm sure my body would question it straight away.
It will question it, but I'm sure it's. I don't know. The best thing is, as I always say, speak to those who've done many, many, many ones. I mean, I've had the good fortune of speaking with people like Joan Benoit, who's the first lady, I think, to run in the Olympics at marathon distance. She's won Boston Marathon a number of times, and also some of the greats, Shalane Flanagan, and they all say the same thing, because I think for a lot of us, we tend, we might think 5K is a short distance, but it's still a long way for someone who's never run. It's still, as I'm glad you said, endurance. Some people sort of might not agree with me, but for me, anything beyond, I would say, 3K is an endurance event of some form, because it needs certain body enzymes and engines to be going on. So because we're used to running that distance and we're running at a fair clip, if you run at that same clip, I think you can almost get away with it up to half marathon, but beyond that, the body goes, whoa, no, you can't do this. So they all keep saying the same things, whether it be Joan Benoit, Shalane Flanagan, patience, and it's pace. And if you're running at the right pace, and it can be a difference between, you mentioned the minute miles, and it's almost perfect, the training that you're doing where you change it by 10 second, 10 second, 10 second. Yeah. If you're running a marathon pace, which feels really comfortable to you, but it's 10 seconds or even just 5 seconds per mile quicker than your body's trained for, that's when things start kicking in at certain distances, shall we say. But there's nothing beats, and I've seen guys where, and again on their Strava, you'll see pace, and then all of a sudden the last 2 miles, their pace rockets up, and they've absolutely timed it perfectly, and then literally sprinted the last 2 miles. I mean, obviously it's not 100-meter speed sprints.
No, but they feel like they've got that 100-meter kick in them.
Yes.
It's perfectly executed strategy.
And absolutely. And then again, some people might say, oh, maybe I could have gone quicker for those first 22 miles, but believe me, those few seconds, I've had it happen to me where you think, oh, this is great, and you're chatting with people, and I thought it was comfortable, but it was just marginally too quicker. And but yeah, I'm sure you'll be brilliant at that, Namir.
I hope so. That's the goal.
I'm sure you will be. We talk about future stuff. What are your future plans? Do you have any? I mean, I don't want to be swearing, but in terms of races, I mean, whilst I had one cancelled or postponed, shall we say, last week already, that was due end of April. Do you have any events booked coming up in the first half or second half of this year, or what are your goals?
I have goals, but I don't have any events. The real immediate goal would be to hit a half marathon and get a PB on there, just because I'm in that sort of shape. And I've noted Reading is normally a really good course.
Yes,
I've got a PB there, and I know that's been moved, I believe, to 7th of November. So I will be looking forward to that. And I probably, fingers crossed, injury permitting, etc., will aim to try and PB there towards the end of the year, just keeping everything ticking away. In terms of races, as soon as they open, I'm going to be one of these people that literally every week is just going to be just racing, just have something different on the go.
Any distance, any time, let's just go for it. Gung ho.
Whatever. just drive around and just race.
It's funny. Do you feel like you've got that sort of latent? You just need to, you know.
I'm very hungry at the moment, so yeah, I'm itching, just like probably most people out there that are watching this. As soon as the races are on, we're straight out.
Yeah, I that's why I think last year I entered a triathlon and it was at half Ironman distance or a little bit longer, just to do an event and put a bib on. And mind you, it was that close to getting cancelled as well. So yeah, it's almost any. I even swam 5 kilometers because, again, you know, it was a race. You know, I think I nearly died in that one. It took me nearly 3 hours, but at least I finished. And I'm not really much of a swimmer. Have you thought of maybe having a go at any event, Namir? Although now we can see the light, whereas last year I couldn't really see any light at the end of the tunnel.
No, I don't.
No, cycling, swimming, no. Oh man, you don't know what you're missing on, mate. You know, jumping into freezing cold water and swimming for miles and miles, and oh, it's good fun, mate. It's good fun.
Oh dear, not sure about that. Never say never, but close to never.
Absolutely. But I totally appreciate, you know, we're busting to get that. But Reading, it's one of my favourite half marathons for lots of reasons. But what is it in particular that you like about Reading?
2 things. The course is flat. It's a lovely course, and the second thing is it always attracts a fast field. You'll always have half marathon championships there, and as you could probably appreciate, it's all good having a fast course, but you need to have a train that gets pulled along with all the athletes. One person that's fast, and all of a sudden you find yourself constantly in a race. You'll always run faster with people around you. Fact. So you always get that with Reading, and you also know that there isn't any big hills as such. So
I was going to say, Namir, thank you very much. I'll give you the 5 later, because that was one of my top tips. How to run quicker in a race is be with people who are around your peer group level, and they pull you along, because there are races out there that are faster routes. But as you've quite rightly said, I mean, I've ran a very flat route. So I won't mention it, but the field there, pun intended, because we do finish in a field or wherever it is. There's a few fast runners, but it is a few fast runners. So whereas Reading, as you quite rightly say, I'd see that as, people talk about London as the premier marathon in UK. I would put Reading amongst the top ones for a half marathon distance as one of the top ones that pulls in a big field of people. And I think because of the timing as well, where it was placed, it's great for the London marathon training, you know, where you do a half marathon. So a lot of people are using that as their training and guidance, and I think that's why it pulls in a great field. And obviously the stadium finish at the Madejski Stadium is fantastic, isn't it? You know, and everybody woo cheering. So yeah, it's a great course, and I'm glad you mentioned that. So it's a great course. If people are looking in the UK, you're looking for an event that's well organised, it's big, and they look after you. Reading is a great course. Starts and finishes at the same place, which is often a help, isn't it? And with some events where, you know, it doesn't.
The support, the crowd throughout town, everywhere, you'll always get somebody.
Yeah, I found that. I mean, Birmingham is a great one for support as well. It's a tougher route, I think, especially around Bourneville and the hills around there, and Shirley. But yeah, the crowds that come out at Reading is fantastic. But yes, Namir, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you very much.
And I hope that that those who are watching, listening, have picked up some top tips. I'd replay this because there's been a lot of gems in there that we've gone through, and no doubt, Namir, we'll have you back on as well and speak to you when you're breaking. I mean, what is that half marathon time that you're going for?
Realistically, anything in the 72s. If I can do it at training, there should be no reason why I can't emulate that in race strategy. So that's the ultimate half marathon goal.
That would be fantastic. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, Namir, and we'll be in touch again soon. So thank you for your time. Enjoy whatever you're doing, and for those watching, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.
Bye.